Hey everybody, welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo-O. Hope you guys are doing good today. June 18th, we're going to go through Matthew 19. If you're interested in the archives, you could always go to my YouTube channel at BoWillette.com, or you could just stay on YouTube and go to the search bar, type in Bo Willette. It's right there in the top right, how to spell my name, and you'll get there, and it'll all be good to go. And you can check out the playlist and all the different books of the Bible that I've gone over. I love just to go through the Bible, just to read through the Bible. You get blown away if you just read through the text and kind of learn what it says. A lot of people don't actually read through the Bible, and so that's what I've always loved to do. I didn't grow up around the Bible. I wasn't around people of the book. I wasn't, it's not my family religion. It's not, that kind of thing where it's like I grew up in this, Christian thing. I grew up in a very diverse world out in Southern California with all kinds of different religions and people belief systems and all kinds of us spiritual folk running around. We're all very spiritual out in Southern California, whatever that means, right? We're into all kinds of stuff. We make up stuff all the time out in Southern California, what we believe, why we believe it, who we think God is. We just make stuff up. We kind of borrow from all kinds of sources and just kind of fashion God as we like to do in our minds. It is a breaking of the first two commandments, by the way, of the Torah, of the first 5 books, but a lot of us don't care. We just continue to do it. Until I really read the Bible, and then I was kind of blown away. There actually is a real God, like a real being. So it's very interesting when you read the Bible. The Bible doesn't try to tell you that God is real. It just comes from the perspective of the true and living God, and his demonstrating who he is through visitations to the planet of all things. And it's pretty radical. And the big visitation is this person, the Messiah, Jesus. And so when Jesus, chapter 19, had finished saying these things, he left Galilee and went down to the region of Judea, east of the Jordan River. And it says that a large crowd followed him there, and he healed their sick. This seems like it's just a kind of repeat, right? Just a constant. Jesus is continually on this tour, this ministry tour, if you will, of healing people and helping people and bringing them into the light and telling them that they need to repent. They need to have a change of view. I mean, isn't that so needed today too, just to tell people, hey, man, you need to change your views. You're looking at the wrong thing. You're seeing things from the wrong perspective, right? You're not looking at things in the right way. And this was Jesus's message over and over and over again. Some Pharisees, religious people that claim to know God, know the Bible, the Old Testament, very, very well. And they tried to trap him with this question: should a man be allowed to divorce his wife for just any reason? So we've seen this too, that, just the questioning of Jesus. What about this? What about that? Sometimes when I think back, a lot of my questions about God weren't really sincere questions at all. They were like these kind of questions. Were the Pharisees really sincere? Did they really want to have their hearts changed? No. They just wanted to trap him. That's not a very sincere motivation, don't you think? Have you ever been in a conversation where you were wanting to trap someone? Have you ever wanted to see someone fall, hoping to trap them, hoping to get them in a jam? That kind of thing. What kind of heart do we have as human beings to do this? To have such an evil heart that we want to trap people. We want to see them crucified, And so they ask, should a man be allowed to divorce his wife for just any reason? It's a hot topic of the day. What about divorce? Religious people talk about this all the time. Can you divorce? What reasons can you divorce? Blah, 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 blah. And so they asked Jesus, hoping to trap him, divide his audience, split up the crowd that has come to see him. Haven't you read the scriptures? Jesus replied. Again, Jesus says, don't you read the Bible? Oh, no, man, we go to synagogue. Don't you read the Bible? No, we go to church. Don't you read the Bible? No, we go to our mosque. Don't you read the Bible? Don't you know what it says? You can go to church all your life. You can go to the mosque. You could say you believe in Torah and you believe in the writings of Moses and all that. Do you know the writing of Moses? Do you understand it? Have you read about the son that would be born on page 3? That would be very unique. Again, I just don't think many people pick up the book and the books, right? And just start reading. And so Jesus says, haven't you read? They recorded from the beginning, God made them male and female. Interesting. God made them male and female. I didn't make myself male or female. I don't make myself something. God created. God made. That was a revolutionary idea in my world. Growing up, that was kind of mind-blowing. And just reading that on page 2 of the Bible, that God created me the way I am. That I have a purpose, there's a plan, that I'm not just, making stuff up. Hey, I want to be a butterfly today. Hey, I think I want to be this. I want to be that. There's actually a real purpose behind the design, behind everything, all of my biology. There's something behind it. There's a purpose behind it, a meaning behind it, if I just want to learn. Or do I want to just make up stuff? Do I just want to say what I want to say? Do I just want to say, no, I don't really care what God does. I'm gonna create myself in my own image, in my own likeness. I'm going to worship myself so much, I'm going to create an image out of me. I'm going to make up me, how I see myself, how I identify. And he said this, this explains why a man leaves his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one. Since they are no longer two, but one, let no one split apart what God has joined together. So Jesus repeats something that was spoken a long, long time ago. And it's this idea, right, of Adam and Eve being joined together. You really should read it. Really should study it. There's some fascinating truths to learn just in what Jesus is talking about. Do I guard my marriage? Or do I allow people to come in and split it apart? It's interesting. But you're no longer two, but you're one. So let no one split it apart, right? What God has joined together. It kind of begs a question. And the question is who's going to split it apart? And the answer is everyone. There are a lot of opportunities to have a union dissolve. There's many different things that get in the way outside of me and within me that can cause a union to dissolve. You understand that? There's things outside of you, things you can go do that will break up a union. But there's also things like fear and insecurity and stress and anxieties and envies and, hatred and resentment and all that discontentment that also will ruin a marriage. See, it's not just, those things out there, but it's also the things in here that can dissolve your marriage. Guard it. It's something that's designed by God for a purpose. That God makes two one. Are they two? Yeah. Are they one? Yeah. Okay, start thinking. Are they two? Yeah. But are they one? That's true too. God designs people to be a university. Diverse in union. Diverse in union. Separate, distinct, yet one. One in nature, human. Interesting that God creates a complex unity. It must mean that God is complex himself. How can a non-complex being create something even greater of complexity than he? It's weird. The creation is more complex than the deity? Doesn't make sense. This is how we know from the scriptures that God is a complex unity. Yeah, from page 2 of the Bible. Yeah, not from the New Testament, just from the early parts of the Bible. That God is complex. He made them in his image, male and female. He made them. In whose image? His image. His likeness. God creates compound unity. God himself is a complex unity, a university. Have you ever gone to a university before? Hung out in a university? A lot of diversity in unity. See, you're starting to get it. Then why did Moses say in the law that a man could give his wife a written notice of divorce and send her away, they ask? Okay, they want to debate the issue. They want to get into a religious debate. Hey, how many of you guys like those religious debates? Now remember, they want to trap them. They're not very sincere. They don't care for him. They actually have a lot of hate in their heart towards him. And sometimes debates can be just that. A lot of hate in the heart. You can go back and forth with someone. But when someone's got hate in the heart, it's never going to end that well. Because it's just the heart's not right. It's not set in the right spot. Have you ever seen your political talks with people just disintegrate? It's because there's hate in the heart. There's no really care for one another in the heart. There's just a bunch of despising, wanting people to be trapped. How many podcasts, how many interviews, how many news networks are really just a macro of these micro wanting to trap people moments. You just see it on the macro scale, on the big scale, where it's just everything's to trap people. Oh, we trapped them. Oh, we got them in this, we got them in this. It's just a lot of trapping. Not much heart there. Jesus replied, Moses permitted divorce only as a concession to your hard hearts, but it was not what God had originally intended. And I tell you this, whoever divorces his wife and marries someone else commits adultery unless his wife has been unfaithful. Man, let's see what the disciples are going to say to this. So the disciples hear Jesus talking to the Pharisees in debate with the Pharisees over a Bible passage. And the disciples say to Jesus, if this is the case, it is better not to marry. Meaning, if this is how strict it is, if this is what God intended, that one man, one woman for life, there's a purpose, there's a complexity, there's a diversity, there's a complex unity image bearing that takes place in this union, then we don't want to do it. We'd rather just, we see it's too hard. It would be much better just to not marry at all. And not everyone can accept this statement, Jesus said, only those whom God helps. Some are born as eunuchs, some have been made eunuchs by others. Eunuchs are people that aren't able to have intimacy, right? They have usually a part of their body, their genitalia, that has been marred or scarred or something like that, and they're in the king's palace to maybe oversee the harem for the king. And so they're made eunuchs so that they can't engage in intimacy. So in a sense, the king's, harem is non-defiled, I guess you could say. And Jesus says some are born eunuchs. Interesting. Born just not with the desire to engage in intimacy. Some have been made eunuchs by others. That's what I just spoke of. And some choose not to marry for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. Some have said, hey, you know what? I want to serve the Lord. Man, I want to stay focused on Jesus. And I got some things I want to do, some missions I want to go on. Man, not going to marry. Let anyone accept who this, or let anyone accept this who can. So Jesus said, hey, man, God will help people in marriage. There's help. I love that. There's help for those that have the call to be married. And then there are other people that are just born kind of, I guess they would say asexual, just not having that desire. And they just love, it's okay to be single, and they're cool with that. And then there's others that have been made eunuchs, kind of maybe through some kind of coerciveness or maybe through an accident, that they are now eunuchs and unable to engage. And still others make decisions just to stay single for other purposes, like missionary purposes, going out, sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. So, hey, there's a variety of things. You might say, well, man, that marriage thing's kind of narrow-minded. Yeah, but Jesus says, but not everybody gets married. Not everybody has to get married. It's an individual call. It's an individual choice that you make, that you decide to do. The only thing I would say to any of us is that when you choose to get married, it is a big, 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 big deal. Don't take it so lightly. Don't take it so trivial. Think through it. Are you okay to be with someone for better or worse? Or worse. One day, some parents brought their children to Jesus so he could lay his hands on them and pray for them. How cool! Something so neat's going on. But the disciples scolded the parents for bothering him. So not only do the Pharisees get upset at Jesus for doing good, but even the disciples get upset for doing good. Notice, have you ever had a loved one get upset at you when you did the right thing? You did a good thing. It's like you hung out with the right people. You did the right thing. You were loving on someone, but they still get upset. They're still like, oh, no, something's wrong. Why did you do it this way? Why did you do it that way? Control, control, control. If only I can control Jesus. And the disciples want to say, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? The disciples scolded the parents. Isn't that crazy? Take care of your children. Are you that person? Are you that person in church that's just like, these kids are out of control? They're so loud. I can't believe it. Do you find yourself like the disciples? Where you can't see the good. You can't see the joy, the blessing. Yeah, it might be a little inconvenient. Hey, there's a lot of people that want to talk to Jesus. There's a lot of people that need to be healed. Oh, we can frame this in a very religious way. Hey, there's many people that are crippled that really need to get to Jesus. We need to have the master go see him. He can't be bothered by your children. Don't you see he's got work to do? Yeah, we frame things right all the time, but we're wrong. And that's what Jesus constantly says. I am wrong. I have to admit that a lot of things that I do, even though I think I'm doing it right, I'm not doing it right. Jesus would do it better. He would correct me. He would say the right things. He would do the right things. Yeah. In a day, I trust Jesus to live his life out through me, that I would learn to surrender daily, and that he would live his life through me, and that Bo would die to self, to all that ego junk, and that I could see things properly. And I'm trusting that. But I also realize that at the end of the day, there are things that no joke Jesus would say to me, hey, Bo, you were off here, man. And I realize that it's not a knock. It's like, don't get depressed because of that. No, the fool doesn't take correction, doesn't take criticism. That's what the Proverbs teach. The fool doesn't take the criticism. No, we already are accepted in Jesus. We're loved. If you know Jesus and your eyes have been opened to his atonement for you, you are loved by him. You don't have to doubt his love for you, his care, but he's just a father to us. And a father corrects his children. So we should expect Jesus to be like, yo, no. And that's okay. You don't have to be bummed about that. You don't have to kind of get in a shell or, go into a cave and, oh my God, that's what most of us do. We feel so awkward to know that we're wrong that we have to find a culture or subculture that constantly affirms that we're okay. Yeah, enabling, right? But Jesus says, let the children come to me. Don't stop them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to those who are like these children. And he placed his hands on their heads and blessed them before he left. Once again, Jesus uses the children as an illustration of the kingdom of heaven. And he says, don't stop them. Don't stop them from coming to me. Why? Because the kingdom of heaven belongs to those who are like little children. Those who come to Jesus like this, joyfully, enthusiastically, with just, kind of this No care in the world, just bolting towards Jesus, absolutely excited about him. That kind of idea. Can you, like a child, can you play kick the can, man? Like in Twilight Zone, kick the can, dude. That's where it's at. If you just get out of the old folks' home and get out and run around and play kick the can, you'll be like a child again. You'll revert back to being like a child where you weren't so burdened by all the things around you. You will have chosen the greater. And the greater is Jesus. And they're all coming to Jesus. And Jesus says they are choosing the better. They are choosing the right. But you guys are caught up in everything else. Man, what's your time like? Oh, man, what's the schedule going? Oh, gosh, Oh, it's not happening on my times. We're kind of missing our time. The schedule's all off. Kids, man, they don't got a schedule. They don't know the schedule. They're just like, they're just having a blast. I'm at Disneyland, freaking out. And they're loving Jesus. Can you see Jesus just wrestling with them, playing with them, just, hey, getting to know their names? What are you like at church? Christian? Are you able to, look at those children in the eye and share with them something beautiful and let them know that they're loved by God? Are you able to do that, or are you just too wrapped up in your world? Jesus has stuff for us, doesn't he? He's trying to teach us, to come to him like a child, enjoying him, being enthusiastic about him. In a sense, losing everything else just so we can have that moment with him, to play with him. So another great devotion, great time in the Word. We'll end there. We'll get into the rich man tomorrow in verse 16. So, hey, have a great day. Good having you today.